Hello, I'm Jeremy Clark, Market Chief Executive Officer at Hilton Head Hospital, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of our show, Healthy Living. We use this show to highlight the physicians, programs, and services that we offer to help you live a happier and healthy life. We are very proud to have been delivering extraordinary care right here at home for over 40 years. And so, on behalf of the physicians, colleagues, and volunteers at Hilton Head Hospital, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Pain. It can be different things for different people. A shoulder that takes you out of the game. A knee that stops you in your tracks. Ready to return to a better you? Hilton Head Hospital is here, right in the Lowcountry, to help heal what hurts. From diagnosis to treatment to full recovery, our fellowship-trained orthopedic specialists are committed to getting you back to your best. Hilton Head Hospital. Extraordinary care right here at home.
No one likes to wait, especially in any ER waiting room. I mean, when I'm sick or my family has a medical issue, I don't feel like waiting around with a lot of other people. Not to mention they're sick too. Honey. And my family does not wait patiently. You can imagine how uncomfortable and how long it can seem. But then I found out it doesn't have to be that way. I can check in online and wait anywhere I want. What's not to love?
It's the smarter way to ER at Hilton Head Hospital.
Hi and welcome to Healthy Living. We are here today with CEO Jeremy Clark of Hilton Head Regional Healthcare System, and I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.
And this is a really important time, I think, to have you on, and we're thrilled that you took time. We are post-Hurricane Matthew, and I think we all had some very teachable moments during this event, and very much want to know about the hospital and the healthcare system, because you are, like many of our first responders, someone that we turn to for leadership. Can you share a little bit about how the process works for you and for the hospital? From when did you evacuate and how all that works?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. This is something that we've learned a lot about ourselves, about this community, and I personally have just been so thankful for everyone in this community and so inspired by everything that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. It's been really impressive. So I appreciate you sitting down and talking with me today. You know, the decision to evacuate a hospital is not one that's made lightly. There's a lot of logistics that go into it. But it's one that we actually drill and plan for, you know, we've done this for years. And so we have policies and procedures in place. We partner with the town to do mock drills. We partner with other hospitals in the state to do mock drills. And so, you know, when the preparation for this event really started years ago.
Okay.
Really started years ago. And so we've had a lot of practice in simulations, but obviously not the real thing. But we made the decision to evacuate when the governor issued her mandatory medical evacuation.
Okay.
We believed that was in the best interest of our patients, the best interest of our caregivers, and quite frankly, the best interest of our community as well. So we started that evacuation on Wednesday prior to the storm. I believe that was October 5th.
I can't even imagine what that procedure's like.
Well, first and foremost, we want to make sure that everyone is safe.
Okay.
So patients that are able to be safely discharged are discharged.
Got it.
We also went about canceling all elective procedures. Any elective surgeries or other tests, we just canceled those so that our staff could focus on taking care of our most critical patients. At that point, we had really already begun the process of reaching out to other hospitals within the state, and I can't say enough about the generosity and compassion that we saw from other hospitals in the state. And
do you have reciprocity, or do you have other hospitals that basically reach out and say, we have room, or?
You know, what's great about this state is that everyone comes together in a time of emergency. And so we've got great relationships with other hospitals in the state. We were able to pick up the phone and make the call, and often the response was, what do you need?
Wow.
How can we help? And so, we sent many of our patients to Rock Hill, to Piedmont Medical Center, to Lexington, to Providence,
wow.
one to the Medical College of Georgia. So it was really just a statewide and even multi-state with Georgia effort to make sure that these patients continue to receive safe, high-quality care.
What's interesting to me about what you're saying is it's not simply transporting a patient, it is family. I mean, the logistics have to be really...
It's really incredible logistics. EMS providers making a 4-hour one-way run and then turning around and coming back to take another patient, working with the families to make sure they know where their loved ones are going. And in multiple cases, we sent staff along with these patients. Many times the hospital said, hey, we've got the room, but if you can send some staff, that'll help. And so we had many of our nurses actually went and worked in other hospitals for many days last week to help with that transition.
So the first step is safety of patients.
Right.
And then what happens? How do you divide up your hospital staff and your physicians? I can't imagine.
Well, it was a lot of communication.
Okay.
And so we found
Excellent communication.
We were constantly in communication with the town and make sure that we were on the same page. And part of our emergency plan includes this evacuation. So that's all been a part of our planning from the beginning. But second of all, it was very deliberate closing of the hospital. So once the decision was made to evacuate, we discharged safely the patients we could. We started working on the transfer process. Then we closed the front doors of the hospital, then we announced that we would be closing the ER the following day. And so we tried to get that message out there that we were in the process of evacuating, and again, just to make sure that all of our current patients were safe, but also so that the rest of the community understood where we were going as well.
One of the things that you shared with me a little bit when we were preparing is that you have teams of professionals. How does all that work?
You know, we have great professionals, and we do divide up into teams. We'll have a team A and a team B, and one team will really focus on the shutdown, the evacuation, and the initial reopening, and another team will come in to spell them and relieve them so that people are able to continue to safely work. And so these are all by volunteer. Over the course of the year, people will volunteer to be a part of these teams. Usually, we'll start talking about this in the spring. That in this case, who wants to be a part of these teams? And we had great response from our colleagues and our medical staff throughout the year. And most years, fortunately, we don't need to implement this. But this year, when we did, they really stepped up and did a great job.
What are some of the things that people may not think about when evacuating a hospital? As we're sitting here talking and I'm actively listening, one part of my brain is like, oh my gosh, there's everything. When you said ER, ICU, patient rooms, food, equipment, how do you even?
It's all of that, and so it's getting our patients safely 4 hours away, 5 hours away through EMS transport. Also through some patients went on a medical bus that could carry multiple patients. It's making sure that they have the staff that can take care of them, and really focusing on our patients first. But then it also is our colleagues, making sure that they are getting out and we're giving them ample time to evacuate when needed. Shutting down the hospital, the power of the hospital, the water, just making sure that all of that's safe, and so that when we are out, the hospital is shut down and others can't be harmed thinking they can come here for safety.
When your teams evacuate, are there some professionals from the hospital that stay with first responders, that stay with the town?
Sure. The town and many first responders and many members of our team rode out the storm over at USCB, the Hargrave building.
That's where a lot of the first responders were there.
Absolutely. And there was just a great camaraderie there really through the storm. And so many members of our team stayed there with them. Not luxurious setting.
We laughed about that. No, this is not the West, and these are cots.
But it was great. It was such a great thing that the college could put on for us and for all first responders to have that opportunity to stay there was really exceptional. It allowed our team to be close, but also safe, which was important.
As we're sitting here talking about this national disaster, I'm struck with the way that we're framing this, if you will. And yes, it was tragic and it was a disaster, but listen to the positive things and the teachable moment. I mean, really before the
Absolutely.
camera started rolling, that's what you were talking about.
It is.
It's you said the communication with the town was amazing.
Right.
When you talk about people coming together.
The communication with the town was great. The first responders were outstanding. The National Guard were just incredible.
Were they?
And,
Okay.
following up with the storm and helping us get back up and running. In addition to all of our colleagues and medical staff who helped us reopen. So it was great to see that camaraderie and that teamwork, and after the storm now, to see that era of good feeling. Everyone wants us to continue to rebuild and recover and help out others who are less fortunate. And it's great to see that just real sense of community here again. It was always here, but I think sometimes a disaster helps bring it out.
It really does. Talking about then after the event, after the storm hit, what happens then? How do you make that initial assessment of the hospital? What happens? How does all that work?
Yeah, great question. So the storm passed on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And when our team arrived back here to the hospital Saturday, we had no power, no water, and no access to the rest of the community, given all the debris and all the trees.
Gosh,
that
I never
were
even
down.
thought about that. Okay.
And really, again, in conjunction with the town, the first responders, the National Guard, one of the top priorities was clearing a path to the emergency department from the rest of the
never even
community.
thought about
And
that.
so that was really everyone's focus, and we got outstanding.
I kind of got chills for that because you don't think about that. I know coming on the island, it was hard to get on, so I never thought
Right.
about path to here.
Well, given that we had to get the ER back up and running, so that our first responders, if they were injured, or if people who stayed were out trying to
Right.
clean up and recover and were
Right.
injured, we could take care of them. And so, to go from a situation where we had no power, no water, no access to the rest of our community, to less than 48 hours later, we had opened up our emergency department, and we're staffed and we're able to provide emergent and life-saving care at that point.
We're going to take a quick break. Can we come back and will you elaborate on what that really looked like for us? Stay with us. We'll be right back here on Healthy Living.
Pain. It can be different things for different people. A shoulder that takes you out of the game. A knee that stops you in your tracks. Ready to return to a better you? Hilton Head Hospital is here, right in the Low Country, to help heal what hurts. From diagnosis to treatment to full recovery, our fellowship-trained orthopedic specialists are committed to getting you back to your best. Hilton Head Hospital. Extraordinary care right here at home.
Hilton Head Regional Medical Center is located at 25 Hospital Center Boulevard. When traveling east on William Hilton Parkway, make a left-hand turn on Beach City Road, and the next left, Hospital Center Boulevard will be located just past the Hilton Head Library.
Coastal Carolina Hospital is located on US 278 at Exit 8 on I-95. Telephone is 843-784-8000. On the web, www.coastalhospital.com.
The vision for Hilton Head Spine Center is very clear. It's to provide world-class spine care to our patients.
Physical therapists were there. They were there holding you up. It's nice.
I just love working with all of these patients and their families and getting to know them and helping them on their journey.
My life is definitely better, and I'm glad that I came here at Hilton Head Hospital.
We are back here with Jeremy Clark. We are talking about the hurricane evacuation and the hospital's role in our community and how well they did and what leadership you all provided for us. Right. Now we're talking about coming back from the hurricane, and I'd like to kind of start where we left off. You said that one of the goals was to get the emergency room up and running.
Right. Well, that was really our first priority, and in conjunction with the town, getting that emergency department up and running so that we could take care of first responders, take care of people who stayed, and take care of people who we knew were coming back onto the island, back into our community. Mm-hmm. So, we had great collaboration between our staff and medical staff, the physicians, the ER physicians, working in conjunction with first responders, letting them know that we were open, when we were open, and really bringing up the ER first.
Can I even ask you what that looks like? Is it sort of leadership always starts at the top? I mean, so it's you, and then basically you already had protocols and procedures in place, so.
Right, well, we had a great team here,
Okay.
and I cannot say enough about the people who were here during that time. But, you know, again, we've drilled for this.
Yeah.
We had just shut it all down a couple of days
Okay,
earlier, and
all
so we
right.
had that learning, and there was knowledge that was there. And so we were able to really bring it back up and make sure that we had everything that was ready, so that we would be ready for our first patients coming in.
So what happens? What do you need? What's needed to get the emergency room open? Were you anything that surprised you or would surprise us?
You know, we said from the beginning that we had good plans and great people.
Yeah.
And so we had plans for evacuation, we had plans for reopening, and we felt very confident in those plans.
Okay.
But we knew that certain things would happen that we weren't ready
Well, my
for.
gosh, yeah. For example, you couldn't get on the island.
Right. Things like that.
Uh-huh.
Things like, you know, having challenged by water and
Yeah.
challenges with power. But that's when the great people kick in. And the leaders that we have in this organization, the colleagues that we have, the medical staff leaders, you know, are so passionate about what they do that they were really able to overcome the bumps in the road and make sure that we were open. We said we were going to be open by noon on Monday, make sure that we opened at noon on Monday.
Oh, wow.
There were challenges out there. There were things that weren't perfect.
Right.
But we managed through them, and we were able to open up care for the community again.
Does the hospital have backup power?
We do, and we had some backup generators come in here in the first few days after the
Okay.
storm. We work with our parent company, Tenet, who provides incredible resources, and that's one of the things that
That's
we're able
the
to
gift, yes.
help provide is our massive backup generators, also helping us with some water as well.
So from a protocol point of getting the hospital, emergency room is #1 priority.
Right.
Once that happens, at what point do you begin to kind of operations as normal?
Sure, it was the ER was our first priority, but after that we wanted to be very deliberate as we opened up the rest of the hospital. And first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that we could create a safe environment to provide patient care. That was first and foremost.
Well, because
And so,
we all know there are things that we don't know until
exactly
we try to turn it
and
on.
bringing
Yeah.
back a hospital,
Yeah.
you run into those. But first was the emergency department. After that, we brought back our cardiac cath labs and operating rooms to offer certain services,
Okay.
emergent services. Then that happened on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we started opening up some of our inpatient units, and by Thursday, we had opened up all of our inpatient units, and we're about probably I'd say 95% back to normal. And by Friday, we were completely back to our normal operations.
Now, when do your patients come back?
Great
You're
que-
waiting
yeah,
for that one.
Great,
yeah.
No, great question. And because we had kept in touch with them, we had set one of our colleagues up to actually visit the
Yes,
patients in their hospitals that they were at. We started bringing them back on Thursday,
Okay.
Thursday after the storm, when we felt like we could safely provide patient care again. We started bringing them back, and then by Friday night, almost every single patient that we had evacuated who had not been discharged yet and was appropriate for travel and transport was back in our hospital.
You know what's interesting, again, subsequent to this event and to the hurricane, chainsaws, for me at least, have become common sound. And I wondered what challenges are presented to the hospital now with this additional traffic and
Sure.
you know, all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, it's a great point. There is additional traffic. There are more people outside working with chainsaws,
Correct.
working on
Waging
roofs.
war, yes, on
you know,
nature,
some
yeah,
people
yeah.
that may not be experts
Yes.
in this field as well. So we have seen an increase in those type of emergency room visits
Okay.
from people being injured during the cleanup. But again, our staff and our physicians were ready for that. We were expecting that. We were expecting more snake bites, which we really haven't seen that many of.
Which is interesting.
fortunately.
Yeah, I wondered about electrical burns and
right.
things like that from wires.
Have not seen that many of the much more common orthopedic issues, falls,
Okay.
fractures, things like that. People trying to do a little too much on their own.
I just think it's an amazing thing. All right, moving forward.
Okay.
Now what? What have you learned? What do you think the hospital? Would there be changes? Are you pretty proud?
I am very proud.
Okay.
First and foremost, I'm proud of our people. They really stepped up from the beginning. Again, #1 priority was creating that safe environment.
Yes.
Safe environment for our patients, but also safe environment for our colleagues and medical staff. And after that was created, it was then how soon can we safely open back up the hospital
Okay.
and which
All
department?
right.
So I could not be more proud of our colleagues, of all of our colleagues, those who who were here during the storm, those who helped evacuate, those who helped us reopen, those who maybe were not a part of that but came back in fresh and strong and are ready to provide patient care again. So
one of the things that Hilton Head Hospital has always prided itself on is being part of our community, and I think one of the things that you state is, again, going back, and I don't mean to keep reiterating this, but I think it's really important, the communication that you had with the town and the community.
Right.
I mean, that's a big thing. And do you find that the protocols and the things that were in place served you all very well, both for the community and your?
I think so. I think so. You know, we had a direct line with the town during all of this, and we're working in conjunction with them. And I feel like we communicated well externally, but also
Yes.
really strongly internally. So
Okay.
we have a system whereby all of our colleagues can get updates, and we're getting updates on a daily basis along with our medical staff. So we've heard a lot of good feedback from that. So that was a lesson learned on something that worked and potentially could even be expanded.
See,
if
that's
this
what I
ever happens
wondered, if
again.
you all have, you know, you take what experience you have and then say, okay, wow,
Right.
this was great, we give this an A+, but we're going to go
But
even
here's how
further.
we're going to do better next
Yes.
time. No, that's absolutely it, and we'll continue to debrief and figure out, you know, what worked really well.
Okay.
And what worked well, but we could still do even
Well,
better.
what was unexpected that
Absolutely.
now we have information for.
Absolutely.
Well, it is always a treat to corral you. And unfortunately, I'm sorry we had to do it for the hurricane, but again, the teachable moments and the things that, again, call us a community. We're really proud to have you here and have the hospital here. We're very lucky. We really are. We want to thank all of you for joining us here on Healthy Living. Have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.